I'm trying to process how many times have they gone after this guy? I mean, he's already won, right? A couple of times.
I think this might be the fourth time. He's won twice in the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court keeps saying, stop being hostile to these people.
And they keep attacking the same guy. At what point does the Supreme Court say, Colorado, you owe this guy $20 million, leave him alone, or whatever it is? I mean, good grief.
I'd like to think that down the road there might be some kind of justice that way, but right now, and here's the lesson in that, Steve, is if, far leftist regimes that truly hate people's of faith and hates the exercise of their speech and their conscience so much that they, defy the rule of law and keep coming after them, the lesson for that is that we also need to keep coming back and being unafraid to speak the truth and not let any of that intimidate us in the streets, and that we need to, with peaceful and fierce, unafraid to speak the truth, be fiercely unafraid to speak the truth. Always do it with compassion and respect, and expose these people for what they are, because the answer to this most horrendous type of thing is more speech. And you know what? I think we're beginning to see that in many situations, including the Middle East. We saw all that obnoxious lies being spewed on university campuses throughout, the country. And it's being responded to, and that's what we have to do. We have to respond every single time and be fiercely unafraid to respond with truth and do it with compassion and respect, and then let the world see the difference. And that's what you do every morning.
We have to. But we're under attack everywhere I look. And some of the other, craziness that I see, while anti-Semitic comments are being spewed by Rashida Tlaib and other members of the squad, putting them at odds with the Democrat Party and at odds with civilized people, frankly. I see nations like Jordan saying no refugees here, Egypt, Norway, and yet other places in the Western world say bring them all in. Scotland, for example, bring them all in. As these lies are amplified, and I see anti-Semitic comments from the wife of the First Minister of Scotland, Hamza Yousaf, who wants to bring in all the refugees. What does that do to Western civilization? It destroys it, doesn't it?
Well, Western civilization is built on truth. It's built on a moral core, that there is a right and a wrong. And to be sure, there are other worldviews out there. And if you replace a worldview that has allowed for prosperity, that has allowed for freedom, that has allowed for conscience, with one that produces tyranny, each country has and makes its choices, and the choices have consequences. Again, on our side of things, right now I'm going to the U.S. Supreme Court. We are in another case where somebody is being prosecuted for just expressing their, pro-life viewpoint on the topic of abortion on a public sidewalk. And governments have written laws saying you can't do that. We're asking the Supreme Court, or we're supporting a person that's in the Supreme Court, trying to just once again say, hey, we've got this thing called the First Amendment, and you can't just ignore it because you want to impose tyranny, in your little city or your little particular government, entity. This is still the United States of America. And anytime that you come at us, we're going to come right back at you with truth, and we're going to come right back at you with compassion. And I tell you, I got to believe that in the win, I have to believe to my core that truth wins out. If it doesn't, then we don't have hope for our grandchildren, and I want to have hope for our grandchildren.